Hey, here at the 167, we like to tell people stories. We want to know what's happening in their lives, and we want you to know who's coming to New Life, because if JC can come to New Life, anyone can come to New Life.
It's true.
Hey, welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir.
So we're going to tell you your story. You get to talk for 7 minutes about whatever you want. You ready?
Sure.
Go for it.
All right. So I was born and raised by a great set of parents. They took us to church. We went to a little Methodist church my grandmother went to. We started going to Awana clubs. I don't know if everybody knows what that is, but like memorize scripture, like do Bible stories like once a week. And that's on top of church. Learned so much of the King James Bible. I still remember it. And if anyone quotes scripture that isn't King James, it's the wrong version. But anyway, no, I'm more accepting than I used to be on that one. But yeah, grew up. We were homeschooled for most of my childhood. I know you have a lot of homeschool jokes, so we're the not quite stereotypical kids, because we actually did social activities, like go to Awana, go to church, do like group activities. So we weren't just completely sheltered. But yeah, like I was a good kid. I wouldn't say a great kid. My parents would probably tell you that I had some issues, but yeah, just growing up, like it was a good life. We lived in the country. I gotta go build forts and chop down trees and just have a good time. But the devil just has a way of just like finding his way into your life, even though you're in a good home, in a good church, like learning the word. So yeah, I was exposed to pornography at a young age, and other stuff happened that was very detrimental to my life, and I didn't even know it at the time. And then like high school and all of that ridiculous stuff that comes along with high school just happens, and just hormones and girls and just nonsense happened. But I was still like maintaining this, I'm a good Christian kid. Like I'm this awesome guy that's going, well, so we went to high school because mom got sick of us. So, but yeah, like I fell in love with a girl. It was not reciprocated. So I just like found my way back to a computer, and then had to like explain to my parents when they found my internet history. And it was just a bad cycle. And then finally moved out and pursued girls too, to very little avail. Apparently I have no game. And then, my laptop didn't say no. So I just found myself in just this horrible cycle where I was still going to church. I was leading worship. I was doing all the things a Christian young man should do, but I still had this secret sin behind closed doors. It was killing me. It was awful. And so fast forward through, college, start my career, almost get fired because I'm looking at pornography at work. It was just nonsense, and you'd think I'd learn. And just, it was detrimental. Like I developed, just this hateful attitude. Like if God's not going to take away this problem, this sin that I know is sin, then I'm just gonna go all in, and I'm just gonna be resentful. And so that's who I was till I was like 27 years old. And then my dad, he said once he got invited to this men's conference from a couple guys that run a feedlot. I'd met them like once, and I didn't know anyone there. And he's just like, yeah, you're coming with me. And I'm like, all right, I'll be the good Christian son and go with you. I was not prepared for what I walked into, because it was like I'd been to Promise Keepers, I'd been to Acquire the Fire, I'd been to all of these conferences that, they talk about purity and pursuing the Lord. And I'm just like, yeah, I've heard it all before. There's nothing you're going to tell me that I haven't heard before. And it's kind of like one of those things where you're just like, don't tell God it's never going to happen, because he'll be like, yeah, I'm going to show up and just blow your mind. For some reason, I'd never heard it from the perspective that we didn't have to carry around this burden. Like we had, like Galatians 5:1, like I wear it on my wrist all the time now, because I need to remember that like Christ died to set us free. We don't have to be burdened with that sin anymore. Like he took all of that on the cross in that one moment to free us. That doesn't mean we won't sin anymore, but like I was completely burdened, and I was so hard-hearted that I didn't want to let God in to that part of my life. I've been like, no, I tried, you didn't show up. And he's like, no, I've been here all along. You didn't let me in. So like that was probably a year-long process of like unpacking all of that. Like I wish it would have just happened in an instant where I just would have like dropped that addiction and been gone. But it was a long process, like, and just like that renewing of your mind and like freeing yourself of that, and then like replacing all of this sin with Jesus. And I can't explain it. Like I can't explain what God did. I just know that it was him. So yeah, that was in 2012, 2013. And then just from there, it's just been an uphill climb. It hasn't been perfect. It hasn't been super easy, obviously, but it's been the most amazing journey. And I have developed like mentors and friends, and like even started mentoring others who have had similar circumstances. And it's crazy. It's awesome.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because I think that this is something that, I mean, statistically, 80% of the men in the room are struggling with this, have struggled with it, are doing currently. And like just that freedom, it feels so good. Like you said, it's really about getting free of those things, not, it's an instantaneous thing. It's about renewing your mind and all those things.
Absolutely.
So what would you say was, in those things you talked about renewing your mind, what was something that was a great tool for you? So somebody that's listening to this right now, you're like, yeah, you need to get this. If you're in there right now, you want to get freedom of this.
Mm-hmm. Best thing is face-to-face accountability. Like it's one thing to do like an online or a texting thing, but like face-to-face where you can look someone in the eye. Because I used to hate looking people in the eye, because they do say it's the window to your soul. And I'm like, I don't want people to see what's in my soul. Like it's not good. So like being able to look someone in the eye and be like, dude, I'm struggling. Like this is not going as well as I wanted it to. And there were days like that. There were days that they were awful. But then there were days where it's just like, no, like I was tempted and I said no. And it was fantastic. Like just having that accountability was just fantastic.
Well, when you have that relationship, whether you stumble and fall, you're living in the light. Mm-hmm. It's not this hidden dark thing that it can grow in the dark. It's like mold, like grows in the dark. Yep. You put it in the light and like you might struggle with it, but it's like, it's such a
sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man. Thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for telling your 7-minute story.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.